Hey everyone, what's up? Meredith here, coming at you live with admittedly terrible lighting. I'm also not live, but I'm sure you figured that out. I just finished filming the video that I thought I was gonna upload for this week, and it took me 3 hours, and I don't have a very good chair in that set. That's my own fault, and I know that, but my back hurts, and I don't particularly want to sit on it any longer. It's also late at night, so I can't use a window for daylight. I wrap up filming, I check my phone. There's an insane Kindle update that I really want to talk about. So you know what? Couch video with lamp pointed directly at my face. And that's just what we're working with tonight. Final disclaimer, the next video I upload, I will have this exact same hair, makeup, and outfit. But without further ado, what's the crazy update? Amazon has just announced that they will no longer be supporting Kindles from prior to 2012. 2012? Meredith, this is the news that you had to drop everything to film a different video for? In order to understand why this is so crazy, we have to talk about what no longer supporting means. They're not saying that they're no longer putting out operating system updates for those devices. They already did that a while back and nobody cared. What they're saying is that they are no longer going to allow people to download new Kindle books onto those devices starting May 20th. 2026. What? They're saying we are actively going to brick the devices. We are going to stop you from being able to download any new books. So you can still get access to all of the old ones that you've purchased, but you can't get any new ones. And if you want new ones, you have to get a new Kindle. The problem that I'm sure they ran into that is causing this is that an e-reader is not a cell phone. It's an infinitely simpler device. They're pretty durable and you just need to be able to read the text on them. It's kind of hard to even come out with a new feature that's even that appealing. And so it makes perfect sense that somebody with a Kindle from 14 years ago, if it still works, if it still runs, like why would you need a new one? For what reason, right? Yes, they've advanced things a little bit. They're skinnier, they're lighter now. The screens are a little bit better build quality, all of that. But you don't really need any of that. And so it makes perfect sense that the numbers that I'm seeing are that there are 2 million devices still in rotation in that 14 to 18 years old range because they don't really break and none of the new features are appealing to those users. But mind you, this doesn't actively cost Amazon any money unless I'm missing something. If I'm missing something, comment and let me know if you think there's something that for some reason they would have to keep updated. The only thing that I could think is the actual files, like the actual Kindle file version. But what changes are they making to that would make it so the old e-readers couldn't read them? And why not include that in the press release if that's why? Because if you gave people a tangible reason and it made sense, like, hey, we update I forget what the actual like file format is, but the Kindle like file format, we're doing an update to it and the stuff that we're adding that makes it not compatible to those old devices, the old devices aren't going to be able to read these. That's not what they're saying though. That's not like what the press release even says. At least as far as I can tell, this isn't costing Amazon any money. Keeping old devices up to date on the new operating systems costs a company money. But if they're already not doing that, then these devices being in rotation doesn't affect them at all. And in fact, because it has to be a Kindle file version to be read on a Kindle, then all of these people still having Kindle devices and not upgrading to a number of e-readers, which one of them might not be Kindle, you're still making money off those people when they buy new books. So what's the problem? Well, the obvious problem is those readers are not buying new Kindles. And if they bought a new Kindle, that would make Amazon even more money. But not only that, a lot of people are speculating that that's not actually the core reason why Amazon is forcing this. In the newer versions of Kindles, there's ads on them, and you have to pay extra to have a version that doesn't show you ads when it's locked. And so there's some people speculating that they're doing this to force people onto versions of Kindles that have that feature so that you have to pay to not have ads. And so if all 2 million of those users switch to a newer Kindle, then think of how much more they could charge for advertising because of how many more people would see those ads or how many ads they could run. It opens up real estate, right? So which of these is it? Probably both. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I think it's a massive mistake. I guess we'll see if I turn out to be right. I mean, I don't think Kindle, not that Kindle would go out of business because it's Amazon and Lord knows Amazon isn't close to going out of business, but would they decide Kindle isn't financially worth it for them? I have no idea. I don't think we're anywhere near that, but I do wonder if this is going to end up biting them more than it helps them. We can only hope, right? In order to understand why I'm saying that, we actually have to go back to what the crazy Kindle news was last year. They had already made it so that you could only have the proprietary Kindle file type for the files on Kindle. So basically you had to buy an ebook from Amazon, from Kindle, to read that ebook on Kindle. So you couldn't buy an ebook from somewhere else. You couldn't buy one from Barnes & Noble or like Kobo or something and then put it on a Kindle device. And in theory, you can't read the Kindle file type on other e-readers. But if there were ways around that, I wouldn't tell you about them in this video because I don't particularly want Amazon to be super mad at me. So they changed it so that you would no longer be able to download those Kindle ebooks on a computer or on a phone or anything like that. You could only download them directly onto a Kindle from the Kindle store, like through the device, right? I'm not sure if you can load them off of the devices if you have them downloaded onto there. I assume they've stopped people from doing that somehow. I had speculated in a video I made about that update that Amazon was reacting to the Kobo Libra Color. Because for the longest time, Amazon had a massive monopoly in the e-reader market. It was Kindle or you didn't have an e-reader. And there were these other brands and they were trying to break into the market, but nobody really had them. And Kindle was still the dominant one. And as a result, these e-readers were becoming astronomically expensive. You were probably going to pay in the $300 to $500 range for a square that lets you read like it's a book. That's why monopolies are bad. And that's why I always warn you guys that it would not be better if Kobo had the monopoly instead, because they would just end up doing the same thing. Competition is the best thing. And eventually, Kobo did compete. Kobo put out the Kobo Libra Color. It had buttons, it had a color e-ink screen, and it was like 200 something bucks. And you could scribble on it with a stylus. So Kindle did not have a product that had all of that at that point in time, and I think they still don't. They have one that has color now, and they do have one that you can scribble on. I don't think they have one with buttons anymore, and I don't think that the one you can scribble on is color yet. Even though they had a Kindle that you could scribble on, it was like $400 something. And the Kobo was in the $200 range. The Kobo was essentially better in every way, and also hundreds of dollars cheaper. So a bunch of people were switching. And so I had speculated that the reason why they were not allowing people to download Kindle books anymore, and when I say not allowing them to download, you can still download them onto your Kindle, meaning you don't have to be connected to the internet to read them, but you had to download them through the Kindle store, through the internet. You used to be able to download them onto your computer and just have the file on your computer and load it onto your Kindle via a cord, but they stopped letting you do that. So I had speculated at the time that they had potentially made that change because they were trying to trap people in the Kindle ecosystem. Because then if you didn't download the ebooks before the date that they said you wouldn't be allowed to do it afterwards, then if you switched devices, you would lose your whole Kindle library and you wouldn't be able to read it anymore. Except not really. I've got a golden path, don't worry. I just thought that maybe they were trying to discourage people from switching to Kobo and downloading their whole Kindle library and converting them, if such a thing would be possible, and putting them on the Kobo. But now I'm wondering if part of their motivation for doing that is that they were eventually planning to do this as well. But if you're sitting in that Amazon room and you're thinking to yourself, okay, an e-reader is a very durable device and they don't really break, and there's only so many readers in the world, and a lot of the consumers who would buy them already have them. And they don't exactly get the craziest feature upgrades because they're not exactly the craziest devices. It's just a square that shows you a book page. That's all it is. How do we get people to consistently buy new Kindle devices? Well, you have to not just think about how this move affects the users right now, but if this is a policy that they're going to continue moving forward. So are they going to start saying that if your device is 14 years or older, you can't download any Kindle books onto it anymore? If this starts to be a cycle, then it's not just the users with as old of Kindles as they have now, but then it's every year after that, there's going to be another set of users that are now bricked from downloading new books onto the device. You might be thinking, okay, well, if we start doing that, then we're going to start forcing people to upgrade. But there's competitors. So if we're forcing people to upgrade, we're obviously going to upset them a little bit. How do we keep them in the Kindle ecosystem? How do we stop them from shopping outside of our devices? Well, if you do this combined double whammy move of not allowing people to download their ebooks anymore and then making it so that after a certain point, you're not going to be able to get new books on them at all. Now, all of those Kindle users have 14 years of books that they've bought for those Kindles that they, in theory, would have to give up to move ecosystems. Again, in theory, I have a solution for you, don't worry. And I'm sorry, their press release about it is so funny to me. Like, obviously, this is a really screwed up situation, but it just is hilarious because in their press release, they're like, guys, like, we offered these users discounts to update their devices. We gave them so many opportunities. Like, they're kind of making it like these users' fault for not choosing to update their device already. They're like, we gave them so many opportunities to do that and they just chose not to do it, and so now we're doing this. to force them. And they're saying this like as a defense. We tried to get people to upgrade the nice way and nobody did. So now we got to do it the mean way. Okay. Or you could have just accepted people weren't upgrading. Or I don't know, provided them a product that they would want to upgrade to. Crazy ideas. I know, crazy. But why did I say that I actually think this is going to come back to bite Kindle? You have to think, if you're somebody who has held on to your Kindle for somewhere between 14 and 18 years and are actively using it and buying new books all the time, and so you're upset about this update, you're probably pretty attached to that thing. So you're probably pretty upset about this update, and it might make you want to turn away from Kindle. So again, that's why they did the whole thing, to make it so that you would have to give up your whole old library, right? Incorrect. Allow me. Well, shoot, now I have to actually find that darn thing. This is the Kobo Libra Color. This is the one that I was saying people were switching to, that I thought that they did that update to kind of try and stop people from doing that. I still think that was part of their motivation, but it's a color e-reader. It's just a different brand. And this one, at least at this point in time, does not have any limitations as to where you can get your ebooks from. You can read all of the major ebook file types on here, I guess, except the Kindle proprietary one, obviously. And you can get them from anywhere and you can load them on here. I will take the opportunity to remind you that if they had the monopoly, they might start pulling some of the crazy stuff Kindle was doing as well. It's the monopoly that's bad, not Amazon. Well, Amazon's also bad, but any monopoly is bad, right? This is a great device, but as I've already talked about, again, the number I've seen is about 2 million users who are now going to have to upgrade their e-reader. If they switch to this, then they lose their old books. Now, if you really want the Kobo Libra Color, you're very interested in it, what you could in theory do is just keep your old Kindle, and if you wanted to read one of those old books that you already own, you could read it on there, because Amazon at least has said at this point in time that they are not planning on stopping you from being able to read anything on there. They're just making it so that you can't get any new books. They also have warned that if you factory reset the device after this, that it will just stop working because you won't be able to get any books on there anymore. So if you really, really want the Kobo Libra Color, because it is a really great device, you can just keep your old Kindle and upgrade to this. And then if you want to read one of your older books that you know you already own, you can read it on your Kindle. And then for any new books, you can buy them through the Kobo store, or you could get them through Barnes & Noble. You can rent them. Like, there's any number of ways that you can get ebooks onto here. As I've already said, as of this point in time, Kobo does not have any limits on that. Or you could look into one of these babies. This is a Books e-reader. Books. I literally never know how to say it when I talk about it. It's B-O-O-X. I will say, if it is supposed to be pronounced books, that is the single worst branding I have ever heard of. You named a book-related company Books. Like, that's horrible SEO. But anyway, I'm gonna just keep saying Books. This is just a different brand of e-reader, but there's a fundamental difference between the two of these that would make it so that you can actually read your Kindle books on here. At least for now. We'll see if they try to put out some crazy shit to make it so you can't. Now I have to turn it on. Hang on. The reason why I got this is because I had done a review on the Kobo and people really liked it, and I was thinking about doing a review on this one, and I never actually made the video. I haven't used it in a while, so we're going through a crazy boot up procedure here. Crazy? Guys, I fear I need to be done filming soon. The difference between the Kobo and the Books is that the Kobo devices have a proprietary operating system, similar to the way that Kindle has like its own operating system, right? So these are operating systems that these companies design for these e-readers. The Books is an Android tablet, which means you can just use the Kindle app. There's an Android tablet with an e-ink screen. So at this point in time, there's nothing stopping you from using the Kindle app on one of these devices. I know this because when I was thinking about reviewing this, I downloaded some books onto here from Kindle Unlimited and read them while I was on a trip. I reread Serpent in the Wings of Night and Ashes and the Starry-Cursed King. My mom is Kindle Unlimited, if you were wondering. Dungeon Crawler Carl is on Kindle Unlimited. I might be reading something else on here soon. If you were one of those people who doesn't want to lose your backlog and you want to upgrade your device, but you don't want to upgrade to a Kindle, you do have options. Books also isn't the only brand of e-ink tablet, and Books' most popular product is the Palma, which is like the phone-sized one. So if you're interested in the phone-sized e-reader, that one also just runs Android. So any e-ink tablet that just runs Android as its operating system can run the Kindle app, because Kindle has an Android app. So you just download the app, and then you can read on it the same that you would read on a phone. Potentially, they are just trying to really hurt Kobo. I don't know, man. I liked this thing fine. I'll admit, I don't like it as much as I like the Kobo. And like I said, I was thinking about doing a whole review on it, and that's part of why I got it. And then life's been kind of crazy recently. I've had a lot going on in my personal life, and I haven't been making as many videos as I was planning on making anyway. It doesn't matter. I might still do it. Definitely let me know if you guys want like a full in-depth review on this. But I will say the big difference between it and the Kobo is the difference between Android and iOS, basically. typically when you have a really proprietary specific operating system, you don't have a lot of customization, you don't have a lot of freedom, you obviously can't read the Kindle books on there and things like that. You can't do anything else but read books on it. That's what it's intended for. It's for reading and that's it. But because it is designed for that, it's a really seamless, very streamlined experience. Whereas this one is a lot more like having an Android phone where there's a ton of customization, and it is technically just an e-ink tablet that's running Android. So you can do way more on here than just read. If you wanted to like watch YouTube on here, you in theory could. There's no reason why you couldn't, it just wouldn't look very good. But because it's not designed for use with any of those apps, the experience isn't nearly as streamlined. And so because I'm only really looking to read, that's why I found myself gravitating back towards the Kobo, especially because I haven't bought a Kindle book in years. And again, I use my mom's Kindle. So it's not that big a deal for me to get ebooks onto here. And so because it's a way more streamlined experience for reading the books, I'll give you an example of what I mean. These are technically volume buttons. So every time you download a new app onto here that you're going to read on, say the Kobo, Kindle, Libby, something like that, you have to go in and actively program these buttons to turn the pages. So it's things like that like build up and just make the overarching experience not as nice, not as streamlined if all you're doing on it is reading. But that doesn't make it a bad device, like at all. It's just that I've been gravitating back towards the Kobo for that reason. Oh, and also I had a really weird experience when I was on a trip actually testing this, where the Kobo app needed internet to load. So even though I had books downloaded through the app onto here, I wasn't able to access them. But that's a bug with the Kobo app. That's not a bug with this device. And when I looked it up later, I found out that this is also a problem with the phone app. And there was a bunch of people complaining about the bug with the phone app. I don't know if they fixed it yet because that trip was like 2 or 3 months ago now. That's the only real issue I had with it. And that's not a bug with this. That's a Kobo app problem that also affects the phones. So in summary, if you're somebody who's affected by this upgrade and you're really mad at Amazon and you don't want to upgrade to another Kindle, then all you have to do is upgrade to an e-ink tablet that runs Android. And then you can just access the Kindle app. And at least as of this point in time, that will still give you access to all of your old books. And then you can either decide to keep buying them through Kindle, but if you don't want to support them at all, then you can get ebooks through Kobo. You can also get them through Barnes & Noble, through Nook, and you can rent them from the library from Libby. And Hoopla is more for audiobooks, but I think you can get some physical books through there, or physical books, you know what I'm saying, ebooks. And to wrap back around to my point of where I think this is going to end up hurting Amazon more so than helping them, if their plan was to force people to upgrade their Kindles and they thought that the combination of these two moves was going to make it so that people were forced to upgrade to another Kindle, they're wrong about that. There are options that people have at this point in time to upgrade, not lose their old access, but not upgrade to another Kindle. And so if you're angry enough about it, you have that option. Now you might be thinking, Meredith, why are you talking about this so openly? Because they're going to watch this video and then they're going to make it so you can't do that anymore. Well, here's the fun little secret. As far as I'm aware, again, unless I'm missing something, and mind you, I was never an app dev girly. That was not my area of expertise when I was click-clacking the keys myself. And I've been in project management for many years now. But I don't believe that there is a way for them to do that without just completely getting rid of the Android app, which I guess they could in theory do. Like 98% of the purpose of an operating system is to protect your device from the things running on it. At least that's why they were originally invented. Protect them from if something's using too much memory, protect you from something using too much CPU. A lot of those protections nowadays are also security protections. I am fairly certain that a random ass app does not get to see what kind of device it's running on. That's why I'm saying, unless I'm missing something, I don't think that they would have any way of knowing whether or not you're accessing the app from an e-ink tablet from one of these specific brands. Like the only way for them to know that would be if Android, like the operating system running on the device, like was telling the app what the device is. You know what I mean? And I don't think it does that. They shouldn't let that happen. So the only real way for them to do it would be to just completely get rid of the Android app. And there reaches a point where the decisions that they make to try and trap you in the ecosystem will end up pushing people out of the ecosystem because they're just getting too ridiculous. If you were an Android user that now can't access your books on your phone because they're trying so hard to prevent people from switching away from Kindle, that might push you to switch anyway, even if it means losing access to your old books. I'm very curious to see, I don't know how we would even get numbers on this, but I'm very curious to see how many of the 2 million users, how many of them switch away from the Kindle ecosystem entirely and just give up on accessing their old books or just know they can only access them through their phone, and how many people end up switching to these e-ink tablets and just still accessing things through the app. And do they try at any point to make it so that you can't access the Kindle books on specifically another brand of e-ink tablets, but you could access them on a normal tablet or your phone? Again, I just don't really think there's a way for them to do that. Again, if this isn't just about this initial wave of devices, if this is going to be something that they start doing yearly, essentially, so every year the devices from 14 years ago become bricked, I don't know if that's what they're going to do. I would be very curious. I don't know how we could possibly get these numbers, but I would be very curious to know how many of these 2 million users actually switch to another Kindle device, or how many of them seek out another option and find out about a device like the Books because they're so pissed about this, or just switch to Kobo anyway and accept that then they can't access their old backlog on an e-reader and they can only access it on their phone. And then year over year, if this is something that they start doing and every year the devices from 14 years ago are going to get this brick, how many users do they actually end up losing? Right now, all of these people have Kindles and you can only read the Kindle proprietary ebook on a Kindle. So maybe they force some of these people to upgrade to Kindles and they make some money selling new Kindles, but they're probably going to lose users to competitors who don't want to support them anymore because they're pissed off. And so not only are they not buying another Kindle, but now they're buying their ebooks through other sources as well. So they might gain some sales of new Kindles, but I do think they're going to lose sales of Kindle ebooks in the long run. And so I assume that they've predicted how they think that's gonna go, and obviously they think it's financially worth it for them. But the other thing is that they seem to be throwing up their hands on pulling in new users, because who's buying a Kindle after all this? Who finds out that you can get a color e-reader with buttons and stylus capability for $200 to $280 if you want the fucking $80 stylus? I'm still not over that price. Does not charge on device, by the way, $80 stylus. Anyway, you can get this, or you can spend more money for a device that's worse, that you have to buy the ebooks through the one company to get them onto there, and as soon as you enter that ecosystem, you can never exit it, or you have to lose some books. Who would pick that option? And yes, Kindle still has the name brand recognition power, but if somebody does 2 seconds of research into what ebook they want, they would probably immediately think to themselves, oh, I think one of these sounds a lot better. So this, combined with not being able to download your ebooks, combined with the fact that their products are just objectively worse and more expensive than the alternative, I just can't imagine that anybody that does 2 seconds of research into what ebook they want would end up picking a Kindle now. So they're gonna lose out on new users, and they're also probably going to lose out on a bunch of their old users as well, and they're gonna have less money coming in from ebook sales. So they better really see an influx in sales of physical Kindles from this. They have to believe that they have cracked the code on how to get people to buy new ebooks by doing this, and that they're gonna get crazy numbers of people getting new Kindles every year now, because otherwise this just seems like a really silly decision. Because yeah, you might sell a few more Kindles, but you're gonna lose a lot of new users now who do not want to enter your ecosystem because then they'd be trapped there. And you're gonna piss off your old ones potentially to the point where they figure out how to get out of your ecosystem. Like, how many Kindles would you have to sell to make it worth losing these ebook sales of the old users and losing the new Kindle sales and the new ebook sales of the new users? So this feels very much to me like a decision that potentially is going to benefit them in the short term. They might sell a big wave of new Kindles this year because of this, but they very well might not. And it's not like they'd ever tell us. I wish that they would, because again, I would love to see the actual numbers on that. Anyway, crazy situation. Let me know if you guys want like a full review of this, and also let me know if you want me to get the Palma. It's real pricey for what it is, so I'm not 100% sure I would ever give it that good a rating, because I can't for the life of me understand why that device is priced that way and this one is priced this way. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I just can't ever imagine saying it's worth it at that price. But if you guys are really curious about it, let me know and I will bite the bullet. Let me know what you guys think about this crazy situation. Do you think I'm completely off base? Do you think I need to go to bed? I think I need to go to bed. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!